Hello, we're live. Welcome to episode 108. Today we're going a little off route from your typical presenting FMA and all that, but there's absolutely some relevance here, and this is something I've been wanting to get on for quite some time. Good friend and instructor and piper, Lloyd De Jongh. Hey, sir, how are you?
Well, thank you, Dean. Thank you for having me on.
Oh my gosh! I know last summer we tried to do this in conjunction with Burton and all that, but some things, COVID, other schedules and all that. So I figured, there was just too much to try to connect as far as the dots. So I wanted to, just get you on sooner than later, of course. And, I wanted people to hear you, not only the system, but your journey in it and what you've accomplished and all that. Again, maybe it's not coined FMA, but the relevance is it's an edge weapon, it's a knife, and to me, that's enough. So, you must be, not to completely jump off target, but you're obviously a very happy man in lieu of what's been going on in the.
Well, that's off topic.
So
we'll get into that afterwards.
Yeah, but anyway, so what's
life is good. Life is definitely good.
I'm glad to hear it. But so for those who don't know, you're located in Poland.
I am in Warsaw. I live in central Warsaw in Poland. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the before we jump into things, are you guys on like complete lockdown? I mean, what's this? You got to be masked up all the time. What's the story as far as COVID?
Yeah, well, we were locked down for like 6 weeks, then the government opened up, and then they went into severe lockdown and they shut everything, and it's been like that for some months now. Hopefully next month things open up again. We can go outside at any time, but the fact is that everything is shut. You can't go anywhere. You can't sit down. You can't relax. It's starting. You can see it's starting to affect everyone.
Yeah.
You can see it's causing frustration, and people are starting to lose their tiny little minds, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's funny because over here and I'm sure it goes for over there, but we're starting to hear about the effect that's having on the youth, and that's what really upsets me is the youth. You know what I mean? Like they have no say in this or no control, and it just bothers me.
Yeah, well, kids are forced to do school through Zoom, and occasionally I have contact. There's a group of kids I have contact with on occasion, and you can see it's just you can see it's affecting them severely.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I know. It's like how long I know. At any rate, hopefully, again, I can tell everybody this, this ends soon, and we get back to some sense of normality, But anyway, we're going to jump into why I'm having you on here, and which is regarding the Piper system. So I'm going to play a little intro vid here for those who maybe have not seen it or don't understand it, but just kind of a little introduction. So I'm going to price up top here, and here we go. I'm going to minimize myself.
Well, those are my friends at School of Media. You should have played that little clip of mine when I did my Hall of Fame.
I looked at that and it was 10 minutes. I know, but I am going to direct people. What I'm going to do is, so in other words, if a video is too long, but I want people to see it, what I do is at the end of the interview, I'll place the vid on the bottom so people can they can see it and all that. But absolutely. Yeah, that's the one I look at a lot, matter of fact, for reference and some ideas and all that. But no, that's a good one. I'm definitely going to definitely post interview, put that on the bottom and all that. So
since you played that, that series is that's for my friends in Chicago, School of Arms Media, and I have a series available. So I have a Piper series available online. Yeah, so if anyone wants to check that out, they can learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. So all right, let's get into it because from a historical perspective and all that, before I jump into Piper, did you have any martial arts experience previously before you became a student at Piper?
I started in karate when I was 16, traditional Japanese karate. And I also at one time trained in traditional jiu-jitsu. Now I also had private training with an instructor in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and both were very helpful. Although I will say I worked for many years, for 10 years as a bouncer, and I found the traditional jiu-jitsu extremely helpful for dealing with unruly, drunk clientele. For putting them in holds, moving them out, and without causing harm to them, to myself, for pacifying people and moving them off and away out of the area. I found traditional jiu-jitsu very useful. Yeah, how I got started in Piper was through a friend of mine who'd met someone I'd known from well before. So my major background is actually in American Kempo, Parker Kempo.
Oh, I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah,
you
so
told me that. I just don't remember. Huh.
Yeah, so my major background is actually my base system, if you want to call it that, would be Parker Kempo. And I trained in South Africa. I really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic art. I really love it. And a friend of mine then reintroduced me, shall I say, to Nigel February, who originally, shall we say, he created the Piper system originally. So he basically is the person that saw that there was a system, so there was a methodology, there were certain types of a flavor of techniques used by the gangsters in South Africa. He started to merge it into a single system, and then when we met, we started to more formally gather all of these techniques from various people that we'd met, from gangsters that we knew. This process took about a decade. I mean, it took longer than a decade, but from the time I met him, we worked on that for about a decade to start to codify all of the moves and all the techniques and ideas taken from the gangs in South Africa and to create the system. And obviously, since then, I've added my own interpretation to it. I've evolved it, developed it, and I'm also branched off from it. So, yeah, so I've got various aspects that I've refined, enhanced, and expressed personally. Because, well, if you look at the way a gangster moves, A, he's not formally trained in a dojo, and B, he utilizes certain techniques that work for him. So you have a gang, so each gangster might have 3 or 4 moves that work for him. But once you have a gang of 10 guys, you start merging those techniques together. Now you've got 30 or 40 techniques. Now you have a system.
I want to just back up a bit. Again, not exact year, just for the viewers. About when did you first meet Nigel and start your journey in Piper? Like what year?
So I met Nigel in the 90s. So it would have been the earlier part of the 90s. He's got a head for dates. He's really good at that. So through Kempo. But it was around 98, 99. Can't remember the exact date, but somewhere around 99, we got into the whole Piper thing, because when it was in my friend's garage, in Anand's garage, and I realized, he'd done something brilliant. He had discovered that there was this underlying methodology, which is derived from Nguni stick. Now everyone says African or Zulu stick, but actually technically they belong to a tribe called the Nguni, right? And the Ngunis are like 20 different tribes. So your Zulu and Xhosa, they belong to a similar set of tribes, similar language and culture and so on. And the stick fighting is pretty much identical, but it's not only, there's different kinds of stick fighting. You've got the knopkiri, so you've got the stick with a little curve and the ball at the end. Piper is mostly, to my knowledge, the way I see it, derived from the knopkiri, the way that it moves, right? That, to me, the parallels are there. But also you can see the elements of the stick fighting, which is the blocking stick, and the striking stick. So you've got the 2 sticks. So it's derived. So there's elements of that. There's also the elements of the short stabbing spear and the shield. So you have the larger shield and you have the smaller shield. Okay. So you can see the elements of all of this at play. But Nigel was also able to recognize there were 2 additional elements. There is silat, because the Malaysians, the Indonesians were brought to South Africa by the Dutch in the 1600s. Yeah. So these guys brought their version of silat with them. They mixed it up with the black natives in prisons, right? And don't forget, black people didn't have knives. They had spears, they had sticks, They had no knives, so the finesse with the knife. This was brought by the Malaysians and well, we call them the Malays in South Africa, but technically they're Indonesians.
Yeah. Oh,
and
the area
of course,
of time is
and the third element. Sorry. Yeah, and the third element is British boxing. So you will see, so it's recognizably there's an element of British boxing, because also don't forget that black people, the black tribes, never invented punching. I may annoy some people, but to my eye, the majority of Americans that are teaching African martial arts in America, these are fake arts. I'll say that bluntly. I've said it before. I've said it in writing, but it's about as African as tofu. It's as African as ginger ice cream. To my mind, it's about as, you know. So yeah.
So they were created or somewhat just
Chinese martial arts, Filipino martial arts with a couple of moves thrown in, and now it's repackaged. And black people don't move that way. Black people didn't learn to punch. Notice, black people don't punch very well. You'll see many arts they hack. They'll swing and hack. Punching came later on.
Okay.
So punching came much later on, right? And also the way that black people move, the way that they're off balance, that they're off weighted, just the way the stick is off weighted, right? There's the way the stick has a dynamic balance. It's not evenly weighted. The way that they move, the way that their posture works, they're not able to effectively kick. You have to stand like a Westerner to move and kick that way, right? To punch that way. So there are differences. So when I look at it, that you know, doesn't make sense. But the way that blacks move, it's very, very different. So they use their bodies and ideas very differently. So yes, there's an element of boxing which relates more to the body movement, the evasion, and the footwork. There's the silat, which is close in tight moves, which you've seen and recognized. And of course, effectively, the Piper system is stick fighting with the blade. So you're basically hitting a guy with a stick, but you just happen to have a knife in your hand.
Just I want to just back. I mean, this is all so interesting. And also, folks, if you are watching, please tell us where you're watching from and comment, please. Going back to,
and we've got Felix.
Hey, Felix, Chad, Andres.
Texas, man. So I hope you're well in Texas. Hope you're safe.
Oh, I hear nothing but nightmares down there. Yeah.
I've made some great friends in Texas. Some great Texicans.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Blackgrave and a couple other guys. They know who they are. They're awesome people. I loved my time in Texas. Please invite me. I was there in 2016. I'd love to go back.
Yeah. Hey, well, you're definitely coming back here. You know, I mean, coming over here, whether it's me, but we'll get to that later, of course. But I want to just back up just a bit. When you first met Nigel and all that, and I understand that, like, but what, you know, I guess what was the initial attraction that made you want to go deeper into the system? And
we were in Africa and we were learning Western Asian systems, and Asians move different to Africans. Right, as you know, I mean, if you look at the way a black guy walks, he like walks with a limp, as 50 Cent would say.
Hey,
right?
you know, hey, I would say I'm getting that down pretty good, man. I kind of.
Yeah, but think so contrast salsa with the waltz, right? Think of someone doing the waltz versus someone doing salsa. You know, Southern Hemisphere versus Northern Hemisphere, they're different ways of moving. So we realized, we'd known for years, growing up and being mugged multiple times in South Africa and seeing stabbings. I saw my brother stabbed, nearly killed, right? In South Africa, you realize that our thugs, our gangsters moved in a way that was different. They had knowledge, they had methods that were different, but that weren't recognized and weren't appreciated or respected, but they were deadly. Because I'll give you a brief stat from a couple of years back. So when we were doing some of the stats, South Africa has half the population of the Philippines, but 8 times its murder rate, 10 times its violent crime rate. Wow. So now the Philippines are regarded as the source of the knife arts, but you have 8 times the murder rate in South Africa. There's a far higher prevalence of knife attacks in South Africa. Right, far higher prevalence of knife use in South Africa. But because these people are uneducated, because these people, this is never formalized, it came out of prison, it came from dirty, ugly, drug-ridden, smelly people with vicious tattoos and a very closed subculture. This was never investigated, never codified, never looked at until we started to look at it, codify it, and it took a long time. So eventually we realized, actually, there is a method here, there's a system, and as I said, Nigel was the guy who kicked this ball, who got the ball rolling. And it's been a very interesting journey. Not always pleasant, not always fun, but certainly interesting.
So, wow, this is so fascinating because there's always like little bits and pieces that I'm learning here. That was it. Oh, he's
Flip a
just
projectile martial arts. Oh man, yeah.
um, that like I'm hearing now, like from you, like the first time, and all that. But you touched upon something I think is really interesting. So when they were, when you say, so I know Nigel was it sounds like Nigel was responsible from taking what he saw, what was already existing,
Yep.
and kind of formatted it. Is that fair?
Yeah, and then of course then we became, so he then created this group, this training group formed, and myself and Eric Peterman, we started to develop the training the training syllabus. So we started to break the techniques down because it's very cultural. See, for instance, the way it works back home, you'd have a couple of guys who see something and they steal with the eye, as they say. So they monkey see, monkey do. So it's never quite replicated identically. It's not a carbon copy. It's more like a feeling as to what you saw. Or you'll be drunk, you'll be in the backyard, you're drinking, and someone says, hey, I saw a guy do something today. Or hey, I did this to a guy today. And he says, what did you know? I grabbed him like this and I did that. And they're like, wow, show me again, like do it to me. And then so like this, yeah, like that. And there's your training. So
Wow,
it's not this cookie cutter replication. And also, the pipe is very individualized, so everyone has his own preferences. Everyone has his own temperament. Everyone has his shorter arms, longer arms, and there's no issue about you got to do it like this. It's effective. It's quick, right? And it's deceptive. It is predatory. It is sudden. There's a very visceral element to it because this is not an art that dates back 1,000 years and was used once on. No, it's used today. People are dying right now as we speak. Someone's being stabbed.
Yeah. I had no idea the statistics that you just mentioned, as far as the attacks and deaths and all that. I mean, I knew obviously it was prevalent, but no idea like how high those statistics were. Wow. So the area you're referencing basically where Nigel kind of formulated a system and all that, scrapulated what he saw and what have you, along with you. Is this, and this is in Cape Town?
Cape Town, yeah.
Okay.
This is in Cape Town, correct?
Is that area just more, is this just more prevalent in that area as far as what you're talking about?
Typically, it's more of a Cape thing because that's where the Malays settled, or the Indonesians. They call them the Malays. There's the Malay Quarter, but really it's Indonesians. That's where they settled. So yes, so that culture brought that with them. For instance, there's in Afrikaans. Now, obviously in South Africa, it's a multilingual country. There's a slang term in Afrikaans. Afrikaans means African, right? So it's the language of the original white settlers who came there. They called themselves Africans. Afrikaans, right? That was the language. And they've got a term, for instance, ek het hom geklap, right? To smack someone is klap hom, hit him, smack him, right? So they have two terms, klap and slat. Slat is not what you think is get him on out the gutter. Slat is a slang term based on slaan. Slaan is to hit, right? But that's the correct term. But klap is to smack someone, to bitch slap, right? So hulle het hom geklap en geslat. Okay. Now, however, if someone clued us into this, there's a form of silat in Cape Town which came from that region, from the original, home region, which is called kilap silat, thunder silat.
Interesting.
And we call it hulle het hom geklap en geslat. Hulle het hom geklap en geslat. So what they mean is when they say that they did this to him, they what they're saying is they used kilap silat, but the problem is these things have merged and blended and lost their original identity. So in some ways the words are still there, in some ways the techniques are still vaguely there, but the original source has been lost. So they're repeating it from a traditional base, right? And these things have modified heavily. Then they're not the same as they were originally, but that root is still there. So the kilap silat is the original version of the silat that seems to be involved here.
Let's go into some of the, okay, I know you identified the major components in the system. I want to get into, like, just for the folks that are watching this, where they get some assimilation of, like, what the ingredients, and all that. Let's start with, you kind of touched on the stick fighting. Let's go into the the Western boxing. Slipping, countering, bob weave. I mean, what
I mean, look, you've had training with me now for some months.
Yep.
Right. So you should have a better idea. I'm not a great boxer. I recall sparring with some boxers and having some severe headaches afterwards. So much respect to boxers, man. So but you've seen that most of the boxing that I utilize and apply is really a lot of slipping, but it's much more extreme than you would in boxing. Right.
Yes. Like it's not the fine kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like where you're bending your
Much
knee
more extreme,
down, like that.
much heavier. Much heavier, much further, much bigger movements. And also it is also a lot of the footwork, a lot of the rotation, a lot of the rotary footwork. Right? It's a very basic footwork, and it's very short range steps. Julius asked about it's an assassination art. Well, technically yes, and also no.
Where'd you get that from, Julius? I'm just kidding.
No, what I teach does lean towards that, certainly, because that's kind of what I learned when I was starting out, right? I kind of gravitated towards it, and I learned that syllabus. Not everyone did. Not anyone else did, as far as I know, at the time anyway. And so up to the 10 years that I was there, no one else had learned it. So I built on that, which is more the prison-based system. Whereas Hyper also, there's a street system. You're also going to have the gang fighting concepts and the mugging concepts. So I'm more leaning towards the mugging and the gang and the prison assassination than the brawling. And also, really, it's not meant to be two guys fighting knife for knife might be an honor thing, but also it's a stupid thing. And so they'd rather go and get something better, like, half brick, sticks, guns, run away.
Right. You said it's ambush, criminal, so they're not looking to duel.
It generally does lean towards, it's not a dueling system. Yeah. I mean, it does happen. Certainly these situations do occur, but it's not the preferred mode of combat. You want to win, not fight.
Yeah, right. You want to get the jump on somebody, surprise attack, ambush, and all that, instead of being in the middle of the street, both brandishing weapons and dueling,
Yep.
Yeah. I want to get back to, we kind of identified the boxing a little. As far as the C-Lot, just having a C-Lot background, were you shown, obviously being, C-Lot being, close and all that, not, obviously not a kickboxing art, were you shown some of the off-balancing, the body manipulation for takedowns and using the knife, obviously, answer?
Again, it's more like you grew up seeing it. It's like a fish doesn't know it's in water. It just kind of knows it's in this environment. So you kind of grow up with it because it's traditional. The way that I would do takedowns is based on the way that I learned it just growing up. And you learn through play. You learn through observation. It's just part of the culture. It's not like you have a class. You just see it done and you repeat it.
It's not like a formal class setting. You're watching somebody play and like, hey, you know what I mean? So
really, I can do that too. And then you try, and then so it's not exactly a clean reproduction, but through a bit of practice, you develop your own way. And it's also kind of, it is better, and it works in a sense that you first look, if you're going to do a mugging on a guy, you're going to put yourself in a position where you have a good chance of carrying it out, right? You're going to create the conditions to make it work so that you can succeed with relative ease. And then you don't have to be that good at it, but also, so there's and also if someone's been trained formally, classically, to expect that perfect straight punch, and then someone hits him like this from the bottom, you wouldn't expect. You were never trained for that. You didn't see that coming.
It's like what do you get hit? You get hit with the unexpected.
Yeah, completely ways that you're completely untrained because I'm off balance and you're trained to be balanced. And like it can't work if it's off balance. Yeah, sure, and we'll show you wrong, but you understand. You should have experience of that, right, Dean?
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm trying to come from like an unknown source back here, because obviously, some people know that I've trained with you extensively, but I'm trying.
Yeah. So it's very different. There's very few straight lines. It's a very different way of moving and thinking. Everyone says, everyone has two arms and two legs, and you can only move in so many ways.
It's so funny.
So you've learned this. You've learned the waltz, and I could do the salsa because you can only move in so many ways, but you can't. It's not that easy to switch it on off like that.
I tell you, one of the best things, kind of cowpole off what you just said, and to further enhance, what your theme there is that. One of the things that I found was like that sudden burst of change of energy, speed, directionality, and not just with intent, but with like just criminal intent. Yeah, without going overboard, but I just want
Yeah.
to.
And also, I think you've noticed, and the audience may be surprised to learn that the knife is often not even used. The knife's a distraction. The knife's just to confuse you and to lead you to lead your attention. Right? You might end up getting head butted, kneed, elbowed, forearm smashed, smacked, palm healed, and you'll be chasing that knife, and next thing you end up battered and bruised, but
I
not stabbed once.
Yeah, it's
The
like
knife
telling me,
is, yeah.
man, that's such a good point. Like I tell me, man, make sure you're not chasing that weapon, because that's what leads to gaps, man. But so what I was gonna say there, what because I know I want to get you obviously to we're gonna get you to demos, but as far as you kind of alluded to it, how it's not just the knife. There's obviously a stick and empty hand. Did you get? I'm assuming you got a little everything. When you're training with Nigel.
Look, again, I'm no perfect stick guy. I have some understanding of the way the stick works, but again, it's not classical Nguni stick. It's not classical Nguni spear. It's not classical Nguni knopkiri, right? That's the little stick with the curve and the ball on the end. It's similar to, but not exactly like, because you also, while you're moving as if you're wielding a stick, you're not wielding a stick. You're moving a very light, short-range weapon. It's also pipe is also very short range. The operating range is generally the length of your forearm, right? So it's pretty short, generally speaking. So once you move beyond that range, then you have to be able to very easily and comfortably adapt and change into the systems you already know, be it Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, Tai Chi. I mean, just to name a few potent arts. But Piper shouldn't. It's designed to work at a certain range. It's designed to work under a given set of circumstances. When those circumstances change, you should be able to adapt, move fluidly without interruption into your own arts that you know already. We have solutions for these problems. And when Piper type scenarios prop up in that dynamic, you should then be able to switch smoothly in and out of those.
Yeah,
but
right.
Also, on that point, I should say, look, the knife is almost secondary. Think of it that way, right? That the knife is almost, in a sense, secondary, and you are quite capable of hitting and punching and kicking while you're doing your thing, right? Yeah. So if you lose the weapon or something, right, you are still in the mode of having hand-to-hand combat, solid hand-to-hand. So the weapon is not, it's not like you're busy stabbing like this, and if the weapon falls out, you're in the mode. It's like you're boxing, but you just happen to have a knife, or you're stick fighting, but you just happen to have a knife in your hand. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, I know. I mean, to me, absolutely. I mean, because like you said, I mean, when you're here, that's punches. You know what I mean? Whatever. But just now this is fascinating. I'm just going to show, just for the folks, they can get some essence of the other aspect of it. I'm going to show a quick vid on you kind of demoing the stick aspect of it, and then we're going to get into I want to get into the posture of all the feet and all that. All right, so folks, here's the kind of the Lloyd here showing a little of the stick aspect, and I will hide myself.
Awesome. The guys will be glad that you're running their ads. That's awesome, though. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought it'd be nice for people to actually see some of the things you were doing with it. I mean, I was, and all that. So I thought that was neat. But now before we get into your demos, I think it's really important that one of the things that really resonated with me when you started teaching me this was that whole thing of being on the balls, on your toes rather, and that kind of weightless, just falling into somebody, crashing into somebody. I think the folks here would enjoy hearing you talk about that, because it's nothing that was fully expressed to me in the manner that you did in any of the other arts I previously trained in. And I think this is a really unique piece of that. So I'll let you take it away.
Have you know, okay, when you're balanced, right? You're Westerner, you're balanced, you're symmetrical. Weight 50-50, balanced forward and back, right? So if you were balanced neatly and I shoved you, you'd go tipping ass over teacup, right? But imagine your feet are flat, but you move your weight just 1% forward onto your toes. On your feet, you move your mass just 1% forward, right? You've now created inertia. Someone has to overcome that inertia, push you back over the center line. But also you start to create rigidity in front of your body, right? But also you have to learn to relax. You have to learn to go like dead weight at certain moments, and then it's like complete loss of tension for a fraction of a second, and you fall just in free fall, and then you just tighten up and recover. Suddenly it's like you're walking upstairs and you think there's another step and there isn't, and you slam down because you think it's there, and you know there's that jolt, that heavy, and that's kind of how those strikes work. You're in free fall because you think there's a step and there isn't, and your foot just falls, and then wham, your whole body jolts. So you're kind of striking with that sense, which is how the weapon is utilized. So it's really blunt force trauma with the blade. Understand? You're not neatly doing surgery. You are hacking him as if you had an axe. And that's how you're using the knife. So also because you're so when you're forward like that, you're also asymmetrical, right? Your weight is forward, so you are dominating. You're putting mass on him. So you start to move him with your body. You start to control him like you're a sack of wet cement on this guy, right? And your hands are free because your body is starting to manipulate him and push him. And he then has to use both hands to try and push you away. But because you're such a dead weight, because you're such a loose sack of cement, right? Every time he pushes you, you just fall back onto him. His hands are tied up trying to manipulate you. Your hands are free to do stuff because your body's doing that action. So that's one aspect of how the culture works, which makes it one of the things that makes it difficult to deal with. It's a very different use of the mass. And the moment that there's a gap, you fill the gap, you fall into the gap. You just keep falling into the gap, and it's gravity that's constantly falling, and it's a sudden jolt, the sudden jolt, right? And this allows you to also body bump him. You're pushing him, you're shoving him, you're manipulating, but also you're disrupting him. Every time he moves, if he's balancing, you're unbalanced, and you slam into him, he's jolted, he's moved, and then you're hitting him at those points when he's disrupted. You're constantly applying this disruption, and it's mentally and it's physically very disorienting. That's how that works. It's like the falling step, I guess people have called it, but it's very actively employed, and it's used to manipulate. And you're constantly, as you're rotating, you're slamming into him, hitting him, and your hands are much freer and you're creating gaps to hide, because there's a lot of stealth and deception. So you're hiding movements within those movements. You're getting up against him and you're working. Often you'll be working with the weapon sliding across your own body and across his body and moving it and smuggling it through these gaps that you're creating. So he barely gets to see the weapon. And even potential witnesses may not even realize there was a knife in the fight.
Yeah, just when you first gave me that, now, just to give testament to what you're saying, when I was working with that stuff, when you first showed it to me and I was getting demo partners, it was so overwhelming to them, because it was just like you said, just falling into them. And after you're falling into them, you're not stopping there, of course. That's the entry. I mean, that's where you're just, and it's so dynamic. Yeah. But I tell you, that was one of the pieces that really.
I think, if you're in a perfectly balanced fighting stance, you're kind of like you're in a mode to give a lecture at that point, to have a gentle conversation with. But if you're leaning forward and aggressive, that's a very different feeling.
No, that kind of, yeah, I know, man.
That's a very different feeling. And if you look at the way black guy stands, let's say, with and just and probably need to add a caveat: I'm black, so hopefully I'm qualified.
Oh, incidentally,
I'm from Africa originally. Right.
You know what? This is probably a good time to, if you don't mind.
I'm standing like this, offset. Right. If you push me, I'm going to rotate very differently. I'm going to move very differently. The tension of my body is very different to someone who's like, "Hello, let's have a cup of tea and discuss this. Let's have dialogue." It's a very different, understand. There's a different set of dynamic there. Yeah.
This is probably a good time for you to demos. What do you think?
So what do you want me to demo?
If you want to do, it's up to you, but that maybe the posturing we're talking about, which creates the off balancing. We could talk about maybe the five thing. minor twirl, flick, pick, shimmer, major twirl. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just throwing things out there. Or if you could just showcase entries, whatever you want to do. The audience will love it.
Yeah, if the audience has questions, it's a drop step like Dempsey. Someone asked, yeah, it's similar. I guess it's conceptually it would be. I had one instructor tell me, yes, it definitely resembles a drop step like Dempsey. So Archie Moore probably is the boxer that expresses that from a boxing point of view probably best. Someone like Archie Moore. Although his strides are much wider than what I would use, but there is a certain similarity and a certain unorthodox nature there. Yes, if anyone has questions, I mean, guys,
I'm going to make sure I
didn't miss anything.
If I missed any, while you're here, and I'll give some people that just jumped in. Jamir, hey, Chad, we got Brian. Who else we got here? We got Guru Tom. Hey, Andres again. Yep, Damien. Well, I'm not missing anybody.
Let's see if I.
Questions.
I'll probably start with just some basics and.
Sure. Oh, Maestro Carlito Mela. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, whatever you want to show, I'm sure they'll love it. So.
Yeah. I wonder, you're gonna leave it as the half screen, or you're going to open up to white?
No. Actually, perfect. Let me drop myself. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you end up as like an icon in the corner? No, you disappear entirely. Okay, that's. Yeah, guys. So this is our spare bedroom and my office. Yeah. So. Yeah, you guys may have heard of this thing. This is called the shimmer. The shimmering blade. So Piper. Okay, a couple of things for those who have. So Dean, you can't hear me, right? Dean, you're able to hear me. If any questions do crop up, or if you have any questions, just show up and then just ask me, right? Then I'll demonstrate that. This is a kudu. It's a replica close replica of the okapi that's used in South Africa. The okapi is a much cheaper weapon. It breaks very easily. It's not uncommon for someone to stab you with it and then snap the handle off, leave the blade in the body. He then throws away the handle because it's a very cheap knife. It's a couple of dollars at most. Urinates on his hand to clean the blood, basically wash off the DNA, destroy the DNA, and that's it, right? And you might easily be able to find these knives somewhere because they're so cheap and so common. So this is a much better mechanism on the blade, much better locking mechanism. This pull tab is obviously used to, close the knife, open the knife, and so on. And from a Western point of view, from an FMA point of view, you guys are used to using a knife like this with your arm locked like this, right? Whereas the Piper system tends to be, it's really going to be in this format. Right now, you will see the knife used like this, edge in. Although over time, the group that I was with, we tended to use it like this, right? And also, we have to realize that in America and Europe, you guys have much higher quality knives, so I've got to respect the fact that there's a very sharp blade. Now, there's a lot more articulation going on. So, for instance, I might ram my thumb forward and move the blade like this, right? Then I might pull these two fingers to expose the weapon, right? I might then pull these two fingers down as I use the thumb to do that. And I might do this horizontally to expose the weapon again, right? I'll hide the weapon this way, so I might start doing things of that nature. So, right, this allows me to strike, hit, strike here, hit up here. And now, there's also this way, if you look at the way we use the stick, from this position, for argument's sake, right? Am I going to do one of multiple things? Let me see the angle. From here, I could reach and slash down, pull it back to me, strike off here, right? I could, from this angle, hit to the body, or I might decide from here to cheat and go to this side. So if you were the target, right? If you were the target, am I going to rotate and strike here? Am I going to punch forward and then flick at the last second to strike you in the throat? Or am I going to punch this way and hit you in the rear, for argument's sake here, retrieve the weapon by folding it like I showed you, hitting in here, stabbing in here, finishing here, rotating into that. So there's this another idea that something's very different. I'll go back into a basic demo again in a moment, but one thing that is different about Piper is that you're not obviously working at long range. We're not relying on a ham fist or locked wrist. There's a lot of this mobility. There's a lot of fine movement going on in the wrist, then the elbow, and the shoulder. But for instance, I can decide at the last second, I'm not going to make this strike. I'm going to cheat. So at the last second, I can alter from a killing blow, completely changing the strike and deciding, you know what, I don't want to kill you, but I can punch you in the face pretty hard, right? From this position, I can now decide if I'm going to release the weapon. Now, again, from this angle, I could decide mid-stride, mid-flow, full force power, full power strike. I can decide, you know what, maybe I don't want to stab you. Or I can set up the strike so you're going to be worried about a stab coming here, and I stab you there. Okay? In this example, here's the strike. You're worried, you're going to be dealing with this. You're going to be worried about that. Right? So let's have a look. Here's the shot coming. Here I am, sent to the body. And as I go through, I decide, you know what? Elbow, stab, arm heel, stab, kick, and so on. So it's a very different idea. So mid-strike, I might decide to change angles, change direction, change what I'm doing with the weapon. So Western point of view, Asian point of view, we are behind the weapon protects us. From a Piper point of view, weapon's behind us, I protect the weapon. I hide the weapon, I don't expose the weapon. Where is it? Is the weapon up here? Is the weapon down here? Am I going to be stabbing low? In the heat of a fight with fast movement, you may not see these transitions happening, right? You may not have the opportunity to see these transitions from here. I could be here. I could be here. I could be here, right? So where am I going to go from here? Am I going to bring my elbow over, hit you in the rear? Am I going to go here, drop, hit you there again, hit you in the face, and then come through directly like this? It's going to be a little hard to capture the weapon. You're getting here. Understand? So it makes it very difficult. Also, as you saw, I might be punching past, punching through, right? Punching through, but at the last second, I make rotation, make the strike here, come this way, stab you in the rear, you through there. So there's a lot of use of the second hand. There's a lot of use of rotation, of positioning both sides of the body, front and back, left to right. I'll pause there for a moment. Dean, if you have questions, want to take some things?
Sure. No, that was excellent. Let me just see if we have anybody as far as questions. Jay, also, if you just jumped in, please hit the like button. Tell us where you're watching from and all that. Jay, can you show techniques and speak to situations that incorporate the minor twirl? Ooh, Jay is under Burton. He might have been privy to
twirling minors. Is it like dwarf tossing?
He might have been privy to information from Burton.
Okay, so the minor twirl. Yeah. So,
I'm gonna lower myself. Yeah.
Oh, no, stay there for the moment. Let's see. Because it's kind of weird. You disappear completely as opposed to you go have like a little window in the corner and I can see you and still talk to you. Okay. So the minor twirl. The way that I teach Piper, the way I structure it, there are 5 basic techniques. That's effectively the essence of the system, right? 5 basic techniques. The minor twirl is one of them, right? Now, obviously I don't have time to go into the essence, but the minor twirl, there's a certain rhythm to it, right? But what we have is the weapon goes up, comes in, goes down, goes out, and it makes a circle. The weapon inscribes a circle. Notice the mobility in the wrist and the fingers, right? You've seen the mobility. Notice the weapon goes here, not here. I'm not looking to stab myself. I'm looking to stab you, right? Another thing is if you're trying to grab the weapon, feel free, right? If you're trying to do a two-arm drag coming down, feel free. You know, that thing poking through your hands is the blade, right? So obviously Piper makes it difficult. When I clear the weapon, it's a lot harder than when it's here. You aren't going to be doing any bending of my wrist because here's the weapon, right? So on that point, so the minor twirl, right, is actually, you know what? Let me bring up my training. Can I do that? Bring up my training notes and actually describe it straight out of the notes. That's going to make it a little easier. So the minor twirl is an inwards circular rotation of the wrist. Okay. Let me just go back up here. For some reason, this moved. I have no idea why. Okay. So what we have is the hand stays alive. If you've been a JKD student, you've worked under Burton, you understand the concept of aliveness. So there's a certain rhythm here, right? This is moving. Now, let me show you how this would work from a geometric point of view. This is the weapon here. When I rotate this way, without moving my hand, the weapon's not here. Put my finger here. Now I go this way, the blade is not here. So I'm covering this whole region without doing much motion. I'm still covering myself. I'm protecting myself from here, right? I'm giving myself options where I'm going to go. So from here, this is a small twirl. Now comes the big twirl. Small twirl, big twirl. Small twirl, big twirl. So if you think about it, it's exactly the same. Let me grab a stick. It's exactly the same as if I was working with a stick. Sorry, this roof is extremely low. It's a kid's room. So from here, it's whip it up. So it's meant to be as if I was playing with a stick. It's very much analog to that. So from here, I've made the small twirl. I've decided to move. I can strike to the rear. I can now, from this position, flick it through, strike to the front, flick it over, strike to the rear, right? I'm tight up against the guy. I'm jammed in. He's got me like this. He's on me, covering myself. I need to move, right? So I will flick. I flick this through. Understand? I'm just doing that, doing the twirl, flicking through at the bottom. The weapon's now here. From this point, I make contact. Right? After I've made contact, I take it up again. And now, same motion. Even when the motion gets bigger, these tiny motions remain. So this allows me to position the weapon. Okay? And then it transitions into a larger motion. This becomes the stick. I'm hitting, coming up, hitting, right? Moving, hitting, hitting. So I'm keeping myself tight and close, right? So instead of me doing this, I'm here. At this point, you've seen this before. I can slice down, return, right? I'm here. I can strike this way, right? Strike that way. Now I'm stuck. I got to retrieve the hand. So I do the minor twirl, pull it through. Now I'm free to go again. So I'm flipping this, and one more application. So the minor twirl helps me bounce over objects and around objects, move front to back in the body. But another application is if I'm here protecting myself, worried about something, right? I can't free to this hand. I move the knife, hand is free. Now I've got to return this hand safely. So I've made my attack, right? So now I need to return the hand safely without losing a couple of fingers. So from here, I move the knife up, I bring the weapon back under, and this weapon is positioned to strike with. Slicing down, if need be, right? So I clear, I strike. I clear, I return. I clear, I strike. I clear, I return. Right? From here, I've got options. Striking down, back to here, and I can, right? Along with the minor tool, the next thing is called the pick. So that I've made the strike, I'm here, this is a pick, just the rotation of the wrist. There's my strike. So I can go minor tool, pick, okay? And now I'm gonna pick going the other way, and I'm here. Now I've moved across, so let me do that again. Minor tool, pick, pick. So I've slashed and I've moved to the rear, and now I'm just gonna slab, I'm gonna flick from here. And I'm back to this side of the body. So I was here, rear, back to the front. And I'll take, does that answer the question?
Yes, he said, thank you so much. That was awesome. Yes.
Please send one electronic sheep if you can.
Oh my gosh, that's right. We have to get you. We have to get you sheep. Yeah, for paying.
E-sheep. Apparently, it's like e-sheep or something. I'm not sure how this works, but people have to smash the like.
We have to figure out a carrier that will deliver you e-sheep. So,
yeah, the problem with e-sheep is once the electric goes out, as the people in Texas know, the sheep don't live anymore. So moving on.
No, that was excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Those are jumping in. Hey, Rick, everybody else. Okay. All right. I think okay. I got a question from Julius. I thought this would be a good time to get his question in. And any set footwork curriculum for training?
Any set footwork? To be honest, no. It's based on walking. It's really mostly, I don't know. I know, Dean, just tell me if I'm wrong. What do you think? I think it's based mostly just on walking, except I teach you how to bounce differently. There's one rotation, there's one step, there's one rotation, there's one step, and the rest of it's just walking. I think
I mean, I think that's fair. Like, I don't ever remember like you giving me syllabus per se. Like, here are the footwork patterns. You know what I mean? It was always that falling into step, the pivoting around, and yeah. But much to what you just said, pretty basic and simple.
So let me try and show people. Look, as I said, I'm not a boxer, and so don't expect magic from me. But let me give you a couple of ideas. So there is a difference. Let me do a quick lesson. I'd have to go this way to the bed. Yeah. So guys, exaggerating slightly for effect, okay? But Westerners are well balanced, right? Westerners are well balanced. If I get shoved in the chest right now, I'm going to be tumbling over backwards, right? So Westerners, we generally walk as follows: heel strike, right? Heel strike, then we roll onto the toe. Right, then we heel strike, then we heel strike, fall onto the toe. So everyone says we run, heel strike, boom. Here, that's a weird movement. Here, think of the way black people walk. This is not the way white Westerners or Asians walk. There's a big difference. You're going to deal with different geometry, different mass, different physics, right? However, one difference is this. Within the Piper system, black people walk differently. I walk differently. Now, I must say that I come from a mixed family, a mixed culture. So I have two different minds, and I have two different ways of moving as needed, two different ways of thinking and being, because I grew up in two different places, right? One you can call European and Western, and the other is African and very black. But so the difference is, look at this step. Right, here's my toe. Right, that's the line of my toe. Right, when I walk very differently. Right, I walk. Look up close. Look at this. Right, look at this. Look at the length of the stride. When I walk myself, I do this. Look at my toe drooping down, and I walk like this, and I roll over the back toe. When I put this down, notice I'm not really heel striking. My toe generally, not always, okay? My toe will generally go down first or very close by, but your foot is much flatter when you come down. It's not, this is not the case. And then I roll over the back toe, right? So then I skim the ground with the next foot, and I roll over the back toe. Now, if I drop here, this is a sprinter's crouch, right? This is not a sprinter's crouch. If you take this position and walk, your weight is backwards. Your weight's over your heel, your rear heel, your rear ankle. And if you lift this, you're lost. If I'm here and I lift this, I'm perfectly balanced. Right? If I walk here and I lift this, I'm tilting backwards. But when I walk, my weight is forward. My mass is moved forward, and I'm braced on my back leg. This is a sprinter's crouch. Right? So I'm braced here, and I'm ready to move. My foot skims the ground. Right? And now I'm braced again. I'm braced and ready to move from this position. So there's a difference. So that's the one thing I teach, putting your mass forward. Because also from here, when I lift this leg up, I'm perfectly balanced. So from here, when I lift this up, I can go sideways this way. I can go back. I can go forward because I'm perfectly balanced. Like this, you're not that well balanced. Now, I may exaggerate a tad, but I can switch between the two. If I need to walk fast, I have to walk like this. When I walk like this, I can't walk very fast. Right? It's not very comfortable. But in combat, I can move very quickly because I make very short steps, because Piper's based on being this far apart from the duty fighting. You're not physically up against him. You don't have to walk very far. So the other thing that I do is rotating this way, rotating this way. That's about it, right? And when you're moving forward to here, back to here, that's about it. Sideways to there. That's about the footwork. Do you agree, Dean?
Absolutely. From what based on what you've shown me, absolutely.
Yep.
I think we got caught up in a question.
Carlito, hey, wow. Carlito, so nice to see you in the comments, man. I hope you're well. Wow.
Who's that?
Wow, man. Awesome guy. Wow, Carlito, so nice. Thank you for the comment. You said you love
Carlito.
Love those techniques coming off the tool, man. Wow. John, hey, so nice to see you too. Yep, John, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to think where we are here. No, those. Thank you. Those were excellent explanation and demos. I do got to before we kind of get into.
Oh my God, sorry. Hey, Jay, welcome, Jay Fujimoto. So good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's
Jaime.
yes.
Oh my gosh, Jaime, man. You know I owe you a message. We need to chat. Thank you. Thanks, Jaime. Wonderful comment. Your movement is so fluid and unorthodox. It keeps your opponent locked by paralysis through analysis. How very Boyden of you. Excellent work. Thank you, man. We need to chat soon, man. Wow. Yeah. So
I'm just making sure I didn't miss any questions.
So any questions, guys, please, please, guys, if you have any questions, please throw them out. I'm at your disposal tonight.
I got a couple questions here from Apollo, and this is kind of in reference to the
Brian. Hey, wow, sorry, just catching up with old friends, man.
No.
Good people. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Okay, here we go. Here's the first question, and this is from Paulo, and this is kind of regarding the prison aspect and influence. What is the biggest misconception about the so-called prison-based systems that you would like everyone to know?
Misconception. It's how would you interpret that? Unless you want to add some more detail. What do you think? What's the biggest misconception about the prison-based? Well, the prison-based system it's offensive. You are so here's the thing. You've noticed probably in all my posts, certain people who've learned Piper went off the deep end with regards to the culture, the gang symbolism, the hoodies, the language. I am absolutely against that. I moved out of South Africa to get away from that. I grew up with that. I have seen the harm that it causes, and I wanted to get as far away from that in my life as I could. I do not want to perpetuate that culture, those beliefs, those attitudes. What I've done is tried my best to learn what they do, what's effective, refine it, and use it for good people. So my application really, where I would really find great satisfaction is obviously to help people to live safer lives, to understand the criminal, understand their methods, so I'm like red team and you're blue team. I can give you a red team so you can learn how, you can pressure test your techniques, but also you can use the red team techniques. On top of that, though, I would feel great satisfaction if one day I got to teach more law enforcement people, because I think this is very relevant to them. Because this works not just with a weapon, it works with, I mean, man, a pen, a pencil. You know, I got this. Someone gave me this in Singapore. You know, great people in Singapore. This is fantastic, right? I use it backwards, right?
It's from Hodges, right? Hodges.
Yeah. And got this from some guys in Singapore, some great people out there. I've met some wonderful people. But the prison system is really, people are offended by the fact that it's so offensive that you have the knife and he doesn't. But what if you're a young girl? What if you're 9 years old?
Absolutely. Females.
Right? What if you only have a pencil? What if all you have is a big pen and you've got a guy who wants to rape you? Right? This is designed for that. This is designed to give you that edge. It's designed to be stealthy. It's designed to be used when he least expects it. It's designed to take him on, right? But I'm not sure that I understand your question correctly. If you just rephrase it and give me more detail, I'm happy to try to answer that.
Might have that was good. His second question is context dictates strategy. Oh my God, you sound like an UMUC guy, Paulo. Context dictates methodology is what we say. What value does a prison-based system have for civilians who do not intend to live in prison?
Well, you may have noticed prisoners tend to leave prison and those techniques tend to come onto the street, and then they tend to come into your home, and then they tend to rape your daughter. That does happen. Now, we need to understand our enemies. Remember, Sun Tzu said a long time ago, what, 5,000 years ago? If you don't know your enemy, you know, you're doomed to fail. So we need to understand our enemy. He has good ideas. He has some very good ideas because they clearly work. And he pressure tests them. He kills a lot more people than you and I do. I will say that. I haven't killed anybody yet. I hope never to do so, but I know the bad guys I learned from murdered dozens of people. They're good at what they do. Not that I'm endorsing what they do, but understand they have certain knowledge. And I am applying and using that knowledge. So A, we can learn to counter it by understanding it. And B, we can utilize it for our own benefit.
Okay. No, great. I do got
two more questions. Here's another thing. So
okay.
A lot of the times, look, I mean, where we come from, right? Black culture. People stand right in your face. This is normal for a conversation. You're pretty much in kissing distance, right? I don't have the luxury of this. I didn't grow up with this luxury. People literally stand up against you like this. That's where these techniques shine. What if you literally are this close to a guy? This is the range you're working at. Okay, this is literally you're face to face, belly to belly with this guy, right? So we learn, for instance, I need to move this weapon to this side of the body, right? I need to move this weapon and he's literally up against me. So let me go. So this weapon is here now, right? It's in this hand, right? I need to move it this way. The weapon is now here, right? The weapon is now on this side. I've managed to shift it from here to here, right? So if I take it here, now I'm in the front of him, and I've attacked him here. This allows me to move, to literally work up against him. I'm literally up against this guy, and I can clear the weapon, and I can use it. So I'm literally up against him. I'm jammed up tight. I'm in a corner. I'm against the wall. I've got 3-on-1. I can free the weapon and attack with it. Clear. Go into a bigger... Oopsie, my bad. Sorry about that. This roof is way too low.
All right.
So understand. So if I'm here, right, I can clear it, strike. Right, get his attention. Take him out here. We have this side. Strike here. Boom, clear him this way. Go back, get elbow. Right? This allows me to work at ranges that other systems are not. I can literally work up against the guy in a clinch. That's what this is partly designed for. I can clear the weapon and work with it from here. Other things that I might want to do, weapon is here. Okay, you guys have seen this idea. You're familiar with this idea. I'm here. I'm going to stab the guy. So I do, and I stab him on this side of the body. I'll do this again. Here I am. The weapon, the guy's going to stab you. So I do stab him, but I stab him here. Right? This allows me to defeat a larger opponent, someone who would overwhelm me because honor dictates that I fight with my bare hands and get killed. No. He goes to expensive care. We go home.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's... Yeah.
No, that was fantastic. I do have some other questions, though. I got one here from, Cobb Bradley, who's, it just disappeared. Let me back up a bit, get his question. So his question is, how would Piper work against the criminal element of other countries in relation to the criminals in South Africa?
Well, look, obviously, Well, put it this way. How good is FMA when it leaves the Philippines? It's obviously worth zero. That's why it traveled the world, and it's completely worthless in America, and it's worthless in South America, and it's worthless in Australia. But no, I mean, because ideas, these are effective ideas. So, I mean, that would be a stupid thing of me to say, right? However, so these ideas clearly work, and we can take them. Now, clearly, there may be modification to adapt to the given environment where you are. Certain things may change. The length of the blade may change, which means that your technique has to adapt to the length of the blade. The mass of the blade may change. The type of weapon may change. What's legal in your area. So you have to adapt to that. But there are always good ideas based on long years of experience, right? But the African methods are very much unexplored. Now, I will say, and I have said before, and I don't care who I annoy with this, but 99% of the African martial arts in America are a total hogwash. They're fake, okay? And yeah, just a large percentage of just absolute nonsense. But yeah, these ideas kill people every day. They're not theoretical. They murder. This is, and I do stress with the students, this is murder. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is murder. And we are trying to understand this problem, this real problem, and deal with it. That's one of the reasons I got into it, because we knew that our criminals knew something that we did not understand, that we could not counter. The Western systems we were learning were not adapted to deal with this, because the criminal has developed techniques to defeat your techniques. If you speak with Burton, I believe Burton has had this conversation with you, Dean. Burton has told me multiple times that the Piper techniques defeat the typical defenses that he would put up, because they're designed to do that. The criminals study you.
Yeah.
They study you as if you are prey, because you are, and because their survival depends on it. Their livelihood depends on it. They study your methods, and they have learned to defeat your methods. And Piper does exactly that very well. So we need to understand these problems, and we can learn from them. So when these ideas, when a new virus goes to a new country, well, you know what? You don't have an immune system that can deal with it. You're vulnerable to it. That's the reality. You know, otherwise I could say, what's the point of taking the FMA to South Africa? You know, so yeah, your thoughts, Dean. Sorry if I...
No, not at all. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, one of the things I'm kind of working on actually tomorrow with a training partner is how, if at all humanly possible, to apply the 2-on-1 to this. And it definitely counters it, because as you indicated before, when they go to grab, well, run into that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or now it's hidden. So it's, yeah. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting, but it's fun. I mean, it'll give me something to do and try to examine. Yeah. But in conversation with Burton, you know, when we were first, because I started a couple of weeks after him, one of the things we were talking about, I'm like, man, like, how would you, you know, from the 2-on-1 lens or what we do, like, it's just not gonna work. And he was just like, yeah, I mean, it's like circle out, hit, try to, you know, pain, distraction, whatever. But yeah, much to your point.
Also, you may not be dealing with the knife. Well, what often happens is, right, I might fake you with the knife because I might never intend to stab you. Right? I might never intend to stab you. I'm just here to play with you because I'll do this, right? Now notice, watch this hand. It's getting real close to you, but where's your attention? Your attention's down here, right? So you're focusing here. Boom, elbow. Hey, now I stab you.
I know, I tell people that very active offhand, very active.
Right now, I'm here. This happens as well. I'm coming in with the blade. I'm coming in. You're not paying attention to this hand. It's behind you.
Yeah. No.
This is what's going to burst your eardrum. Understand? This is the thing that's going to grab you. So you're focused here, right? And meanwhile, I'm going to be pulling you in here because you're going to lunge at me, and I'm going to help you come closer, baby, because I'm happy to getting close. I'm happy to get up to you like this because I can fight like this. I'll play from here, okay? I'll happily play from here. Understand? So this is designed because I'll be here. Because I'll elbow you, knife you, hit you. Now I'll stab you in the front again. Because I can comfortably swing this through, take you here, take you here, and then take you back here. Understand? I can move around you given the circumstances. So I'll be in front of you and I'll stab your right ankle at the rear.
No, I know, just from what, yeah, I know, pick your poison, man.
So there's a lot here that is very different, and it moves in a very different way. The movements are not what you're used to. So yeah, hopefully that answers the questions. If the guys have,
I do got another. I'm going to assume there's a question, Julius. Ask Lloyd about my get up from takedown strategies. I'm not sure.
If you can,
maybe a little more explicit in what you're asking. I'm assuming that if you get knocked down.
I mean, look, Piper is not a ground system. Yeah, technically there might be some elements, but look, really, it's not. If you've got a different system that has taught you techniques, use those. Piper doesn't do everything. It's designed to work at a certain range, right? It will take you down. It certainly wants to take you down, but yeah, you got serious problems. You've been taken down. It means what he did first was effective.
Yeah. Great. Okay, I do got yes, Paul. Yeah, I mean, Paul, if they're offensively sophisticated, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to go to hitting and all that to paint compliance, access, leverage. I mean,
to give one insight into that, look.
What's that?
For instance, right? Here's a common scenario. Let me move backwards a bit. Here's a common scenario. I come up, kyk na mistene. Ek vra maar net nou, dis honger, ek niks kos nie, maar ek niks geld. Asseblief kan jy my help, asseblief mistene, kan jy my help? This is very common back home. Kyk na, kyk asseblief kan jy my help? This is not a fighting stance. I mean, if I drop the camera, this is not typical combat maneuvers. This is not going to make it into the Olympics anytime soon.
You mean it won't be a sport for that?
This posture is not going to make it into the Olympics anytime soon. But you will soon have your jaw broken and be lying on the ground from this position, right? As I said, this is what you call someone who's crippled, not someone who's about to kick the crap out of you, right? So what happens from here? Understand, there's deception. There's an element of deception here. There's an element of deceit, right? So from here, this is your jaw. Your jaw is like here. I'm gonna be standing here playing with my fingers, right? Twiddling my thumbs like this. And I'm looking completely, this is what's gonna happen. And from this position, this guy is gonna hit you like this. So he's gonna be doing this.
Like, oh man.
This is gonna, understand, this is gonna come up under your jaw. So it's gonna be,
it's gonna be a shot.
You're gonna lose some teeth here at this point. And once this goes through this, now there's an empty hand element to Piper as well. There is an empty hand element that the two combine. So after I've done this shot, right? From this point, I'm gonna come to here, and from here, I'm gonna be slamming down, and your face is exposed like this. And I'm coming down on your face like that. Once this whips down, this elbow is going to finish you off there. Understand? And if I have to, I'm going to come back up. Elbow, hammer. Understand? These are heavy, powerful shots. This is not.
No.
I'm going to stab you. Run away, I'm going to stab you. This guy is hitting you as if he's hitting you with a brick. Understand? He's smashing you with an axe.
Yeah, no, understand. This is
it's not that. This guy is hitting, I mean, he is clubbing you to death like you're a baby seal. Except he's doing a knife to do it.
Baby seal. All right, I got next. Okay, another question. This is going great, by the way. Compare and contrast to FMA. You kind of already alluded to this, how the difference is from other arts. But my second part is the benefits from each other to integrate. In other words, this is conversations me and you've had, of course, my FMA background, jumping into your world, and how we can integrate, I guess, some of this stuff that has some congruency and makes sense. But I wanted the folks to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, look, I do want to mention one thing. People may have seen that when I strike, you may have seen my face contort. And Piper, it's something I do teach. I do heavily stress when I work with people. Piper comes from a very dark place. Okay, it comes from a very dark place, from some very bad people. I want you to watch the documentary Ross Kemp on gangs.
Yeah, I posted that
Right?
vid. I think I did. Yeah.
It's an award-winning documentary called Ross Kemp on Gangs, The Number. It's about the numbers gangs in Cape Town in the prisons, right? And you will understand the culture this comes from. Now, I do want to stress that, look, I am simply demonstrating and I'm trying to be authentic because I come from that culture. I understand the culture, but at no stage do I want people to become immersed in that culture, because that's a very sick, ugly mentality to develop. And this is something that I stress very heavily when I do train with people. I teach them that they've got to stay clean in their brain. I've seen people change, and but understand that when you do these things, you're there because you're forced to be there, and you're going to survive. Same with you, and it's going to be him. It's that simple, you know. So we've got to understand, we've got to bring our minds back from the brink. And I do teach how to apply this, how to do these things without losing your mind, without getting that tunnel vision, by opening your mind as necessary to let the light back in rather than to get that. Darkness is very bad, and I don't want that. Yeah,
really dark. You know what I mean? And just we're not actually.
Someone asked about difference with Libre. Not everyone knows. I trained Scott.
What are you saying, Lloyd?
Someone asked.
I asked you regarding the FMA and some of the benefits as far as integration that we talked about. What he's saying is this might already been asked.
Yeah.
From Libre, if I'm understanding him, Paul, this might.
People realize I've trained Scott Babb. I spent time in San Diego. I trained him there, and he did put out the repo method about 3 months after I visited him in San Diego. And people do tell me they see an element of what I do. They see Scott trying to replicate some of what I do within his system. Now, clearly, he's got a very strong FMA background. When you do Piper, your martial arts background is going to come through. Believe me, Piper merges and blends. So if you're a boxer, your Piper is going to look like boxing. If you're an FMA guy, you're going to start to see that FMA influence in the Piper. It adapts. It starts to adapt with your strongest art. It always does that. It blends with your strongest art. It doesn't stand alone. It actually starts to become very unique. And those two students look alike, and those two students should. If you train with me and you start to copy me and start to clone me, I will come over there and personally smack you for doing that, because that's not the plan. It's a unique system. It's designed for you. You will do things that are unique to you. But yeah, so there is a pipe element to Libre. I would think. I've been told so by enough people. So yeah, there is that, but there's also Piper's also just Piper. It's its own unique thing.
Do you? Okay. Am I missing? No. Okay. Paul's asking the difference between the two.
Look, I don't know Libre well enough to make that comment, but yeah, okay. So one of the things that I mean, look, I'm not here to try to disparage anyone. That's not my plan. But for instance, some of the things I've seen, like one thing that people have noted, now I'm commenting on things that I've been told, like some of the holds, like this is something I would not conscience, because man, I'm not looking to stab my own arm. So some of the grabs, stabs, whereas one of the things that I'm very, very clear about, and also these motions like this, these are plyometric and they cause damage to the joints. You get long-term tissue damage here. You're causing micro trauma to the joints moving like that. So I'm very, very careful. I do, when I work with students in seminars, I teach mobility. I do a full mobility session with them to understand their own body mechanics, so that I can understand their movement, they can understand their movement, and to help them to not injure themselves. We got to start looking for asymmetries and other issues, right? And but yes, so these motions. So notice this kind of movement is not healthy. So I have a lot of motions that they stop and they absorb the tension. You don't end up hurting yourself, right? The movement flows through, right? The movement flows through. From this position, depending on how I rotate, I can come through this way, okay? I can come through low. I can still come through over. I can fake and then go here. But yeah, So one of the things that I have is that the knife and your free hand never meet. Okay? I'm protecting my neck. My shoulders are always up. I'd rather get stabbed here than here. I'd rather get punched on the shoulder and it glances off my head than I get knocked in the jaw. Right? Shoulders are up. I'm always protecting my neck. I'm always protecting my neck. I'd rather get stabbed here than here. Right? But notice, clear the hand. Move. Bring this up. Bring this back. Move this. Clear. I'm always separating the hands. Right? The weapon is here. I can bring this back. Now I can bring this back. I'm always clearing. So I'm always separating the hands. But also, I don't know, think of it as boxing. If you can box really well, you'll do Piper really well, because it's like boxing. I should be able to box and punch you with the knife in my hand. Right? So you're boxing. And also, when I do this is like a trigger to the rest of my body. This is my bob and weave. Okay? Grab, pull, come around this way. This is on the other side. Right? So these are very big movements. They're not FMA. This is very different. Someone asked about using the body, the rotation, the crashing. If I was close to someone here, right, up against him, physically up against him, weapon in the hand, I might be talking to him like, now I've used my shoulder bump to move him. I've hit him with my shoulder. Right, so from here, I've made the hit here, right? I've made the hit here. The weapon is still on the other side of my body. And now, see, so I made the hit and the weapon remains here. From here, I'm shooting this one. Shoot it back. So 1, 2, double tap, 1, 2. Those are things. But also this hand, so I might make this move. And once I've done that, I'll bring this arm through, and he's now expecting this shot to fire off. And when he gets ready for this shot, that's when I slap him on this side with this hand. Then I yank him back. Now, so I don't know if that's, but there are certain differences. As I said, I don't know Libra well enough, but hopefully this gives you some idea to compare.
Yeah. All right, let me just make sure, because I got a few more questions, because we're coming up on okay. Okay, let's okay. A couple of questions I'll kind of tie in at the end here, Tom's, and I got a question from Brian. Okay, tripwire. What can you tell us about tripwire?
If Piper is the knife system, tripwire is the counter knife system. Piper is the anti-tripwire. So sorry, tripwire is the anti-Piper. It's counter Piper. So if Piper is the ambush, tripwire is the counter ambush. If Piper is the knife heavy system with an element of hand-to-hand, tripwire is the hand-to-hand system with an element of knife.
Okay.
In one sense. Tripwire is very close. If Piper is often very big, gross movements, tripwire is very tiny. Now, obviously, because I'm me and I've gotten used to this, a lot of my tripwire ideas have bled over into Piper, so I kind of just mix them up a little bit. But Piper is larger, it's more aggressive. Tripwire is tiny, it fits inside, gets inside. It fouls up the Piper system. It's designed to get off the line real fast. When Piper moves, I move, and I disrupt him.
Okay, man.
That answers the question.
No, it does. I just want folks to hear that you, in fact, have this adjunct system, so to speak, to Piper. So I just want the folks and all that. Okay, what can you just say as a whole, as far as your personal development? Like, you kind of hit here and there throughout the interview, but like, I mean, obviously you've evolved, you know what I mean? So maybe the importance of the involvement through maybe your influence, your exposure to other martial artists, what have you. I guess what I want the folks to understand is that what I really admire about you is that you let people bring stuff to the table. Like I showed you some stuff from FMA, and that you appreciated and wanted to be brought in. Like, so you're very open-minded, and I'm alluding to is that's led to your involvement of this. So maybe you can take it from there.
Yeah, well, if we go back to South Africa's criminal underclass, each criminal had his own preferences, his own temperament, his own experiences, and he would do things his way, right? There was a certain flavor to it, a certain cultural flavor, but everyone had their own thing. Now, they might share a few ideas, but it was very personalized, and Piper needs to adapt to its environment, right? I haven't lived ever. I've traveled extensively. I've been very blessed, but I've traveled the world. I've seen a lot. I've done well in my life, and I'm very grateful, coming from very little to doing very well for myself. But Piper is very personalized. So one, it must fit you, and I'm very careful to make sure that it does. I think you'll agree with me on that, and Burton would agree on that. That it's very personalized. There's a certain core that needs to be understood, but the expression is very personal, right? Like painting, you got to learn about brushes, and you got to learn about surface. You got to learn how to paint, but how you paint is entirely your thing, right? But also, when it goes into a new culture, it encounters new problems. People have their own insights. I'm not the only brain on earth, right? So people have ideas that are valuable, and I think it's a good exercise when. So basically, all the gangsters brought something in, right? People would steal ideas, and I think it is a good idea. We should absorb it, because Piper was a criminal system that always evolved. People would come up with counters, and the criminals would come up with counters, and we got to stay alive. There's got to be this constant refreshing of the ideas. I don't want it to say, well, this is how it was traditionally back then, and it can't change because it's gospel. It's like, well, if you're getting your ass kicked because this guy has a new idea that you've never heard of, then, well, we need to get hold of that. We need to use it,
incorporate it, understand it. Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to be like, no, it doesn't fit. We're not gonna
do to others before they do unto you.
No, it's something I really admire about you, and I tell people that, like, you actually can, like, bring stuff to the table, and yeah. So not a lot of people. I tell you though, in some of these systems, and I'm speaking them in terms of FMA here. It's like, it's no. This is syllabus right here. No, you can't.
That's what I learned. If you look at all the Piper videos of the guys online, no two people move alike.
I love that. It's your own, right? It's your own personal style. I mean, God, who would want a bunch of robots?
It's going to blend. If you were a Tai Chi guy, I promise you, it's going to start resembling Tai Chi, and your Tai Chi is going to start resembling Piper. And if you're
like, God Almighty, like, who wants a bunch of robots? I mean, I
promise you, it's going to start merging and blending with your existing arts, because it needs to be. You need to be able to flow smoothly and fluidly in and out of range. You need to flow from. Piper doesn't answer every problem. It's not meant to, right? It answers certain problems, right? But when you're not in that situation, you're going to be able to easily flow without conflict, without stumbling, without stuttering, right? Smoothly, seamlessly into your other arts. So it's got to blend. And those arts are going to have ideas that fit. Some ideas will just fit really nicely. And why not take those ideas? If they work, damn it, use them.
I know, you hear some
instructors are expected to come up with one thing, one signature thing. Everyone's got their signature. Everyone will have something that.
Yeah, and I definitely got a few, but one of the things I want to bring up. Oh, Chad, you're welcome on posting the video. Yeah, folks, if you have not seen it, on the test run with Lloyd, I posted a video there. If you want to get some insight to the prison gangs of South Africa, again, it's right on my homepage under the test run with Lloyd. But you're very welcome, Chad. Thank you. But here, I want to touch upon something, Lloyd, that you kind of brought up and all that. I mean, yes, the body can only almost word certain ways, but I can't stand when people say, oh, the Piper's like FMA. No, it's not. You know what I mean? It's not. There's some similarities, the way maybe it moves, but the methodology, the approach, the mental, it's not the same. You know what I mean? And that's like a pet peeve of mine. It's like, stop putting things all in one basket. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does it fall under fruit? Sure. But hence the apples and oranges,
Hey, tomatoes are a fruit. They're the same as pineapples? No.
That's what I mean. It just drives me nuts. Of course, you can only move so many different ways in the body. Oh, well, no kidding. You know what I mean? No, it's the same. It drives me.
Ballet is exactly the same as salsa. You can only move so many different ways. The waltz is exactly the same to salsa. Like, sure, buddy.
Yeah, right. They're all dances, but they're different. I know. It's like, well, we have that over here. We have that over here.
Yeah.
That's a pet peeve rant. So.
No, there's a lot of no. Look, I mean, for instance, something that is remarked on a lot, and I know that after I showed this, suddenly everyone has been doing this in their art for a million years. But one of the things, for instance, right? Actually, Look, for instance, there's a lot of very tiny motor coordination elements, right, within Piper. There's a lot of these things. Now, I would never do this because this points the weapon to me, so that's a bad idea. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's got to take it out. But notice, there's a lot of tiny movements. We start with the fingers, then we move to the wrist, right? Then we work on the hand, then we go to the forearm, and then we go to the elbow, then we go to the shoulder, right? So I progress like that. But for instance, you're going to make a grab to my wrist, right? So as you make the grab, I do this, and this is going to miss. Right, the tiny little elements, subtleties that people miss. Now, when they see all these big motions, inside of those motions, I'm actually doing this little minor twirl. It's actually inside all of these heavy motions. That is still happening, right? These picks are happening inside of all of these big motions. These tiny motions are happening. They're just bigger, but there's lots of tiny things that are happening with the fingers. So these tiny motions are actually occurring. So when this happens, that happens. Right, there's little things, and you don't really see that. I'm not trying to get away. I'm trying to get close. So, there's little things. I don't know if that shows, but there's subtleties in the way that this thing works with the blade. There's certain things the fingers are doing. There's certain things that are occurring here that's not common to FMA, and it's there's subtle.
I think now what I will say is, can you extract from different things? And all that, and absolutely, there can be a blending of stuff, that are that improve the system. But yeah, there's. All right, I got a couple questions to lead to here. Okay, one from Guru Tom. Obviously, you do vet, of course, students.
Say again, please.
You vet students.
Yes, I do.
As well as you should. Yeah. Okay. I got a question here a couple of questions from Brian. Yeah, I saw that, and I'm watching. All right. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is where we're supposed to post questions. Okay. And is there? Yes. If interested, learning more. Is there online training? Yes, Brian. You can actually go train with Lloyd. And yes, if interested in the Piper system, where might be able to find a quality knife? Where can they find a quality training knife?
Look, dude, I grew up in Africa. Let me tell you a brief story. Just a bit of a tearjerker. I was 18. I finished school and I wanted to go to university, go to college. The college admission fee at that time was 150 Rand, which is $10. We didn't have $10.
Yes, obviously, what's over here.
Well, my family couldn't afford to pay $10 admission to college. I understand, we didn't have the money. Quite bluntly, $10 was like, oh my God, like how do we afford that? There were times in my life I was down so low I had to reach upwards just to touch the bottom. Okay. Sorry, I lost track for a second. Where am I going with this?
No. What he asked was, where can he find a quality training knife?
So we trained. So we used to train with real okapis. We trained, and that's why we turned them backwards like this, so that if we had an impact, we'd get the blunt of the blade. That's why we started training like this. But the thing, and most of the guys do use the weapon like this anyway, but I mean, the real gangsters will use it like this, right? They'll hold it like this, right?
Okay.
But we started training like this, and I'm very comfortable with this because we can use the edge. But that said, we started training with real knives. We trained with real knives. But okay, so this was given to me by a good friend of mine in France. Some great people. Man, I've been privileged to meet some wonderful people around the world. This is a trainer that's been specially ground down. But look, the two videos that Dean played, School of Arms Media. You can contact John Bednarski at School of Arms Media. Send them an email. He can, for $25 shipped, they can send you a kudu that's been ground down.
I gotta jump in on this.
Yeah,
you can get them much cheaper from Cold Steel.
Yeah, but then you have to grind it down yourself. I'll tell you, the very first time a friend of mine gave me, I've got a real kudu inside, sharp. Yeah. When I opened it, the mechanism was so stiff, I sliced off the tips of these two fingers. I literally sliced off the skin.
You say the mechanism. What do you mean?
When we bought this new, right, the very first time I got given one, from a buddy of mine bought me a Cold Steel kudu, gave it to me. He bought it, an American friend of mine who was visiting me in Dubai when I was living in Dubai. Okay. And I opened the knife and I literally sliced off
Oh, well, you're saying he
Yes.
filed them down. I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't. No, so the kudu that you get from him, it will kill you.
All right, stand correct.
It
Okay.
will kill
Okay.
you. So that's why you can get it professionally ground down
I gotcha.
by John Dudnosky. You can for $25, including which includes shipping. You can have this thing professionally done and get sent to you because I like this. It's got a good weight.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Last question from Brian.
Sure.
And then we can close your future goal. All right. Is a Piper system taught in any law enforcement organizations to help them understand? Good question.
Say that again, please. Ask that question again.
So his last question is a Piper system taught in any law enforcement organizations to help them understand, I guess, the complexity of the system? It's a good question.
No, I have taught two various people who are in law enforcement and the military who've been on private seminars that I did, but I've not formally trained anyone. My last seminar was in Switzerland. Again, some wonderful people, and there were about half the attendance. It was a private seminar. I didn't advertise it. My first seminar had about 25 students. My second, there was about 11 students, but it was a private seminar. I didn't advertise it. It was meant for a small group, and about half of that group were either military or police or ex. Well, all the men in Switzerland have served, but these are people that were in gang, drug, undercover units, people who are on the front lines. And what's interesting is that Piper is really, it merges. Now we've tested this, and I've been developing this. I started in Texas. Jaime will remember, but Piper works very well with handguns, right? And in fact, a lot of the knife positions, a lot of the way you hold the knife is pretty much identical to the way you hold a handgun. You hold the knife the way you hold a gun, right? You hold the knife the way you hold a gun. When I pull these triggers, it's like shooting, right? The same dynamic. You present the weapon the same way. You point the weapon the same way. When I'm like this, I'm always pointing the barrel because this is where the bullet comes out. I'm always pointing. So the concepts of working with the handgun and working with Piper, because like I said, the barrel doesn't cross your hand, does it? No. Right? We only point at things we want to shoot, right? It's very efficient use of this. This is always, this is, when I teach Pipe, I tell people, think of it as a gun. Think of it as a barrel of a gun. You need to think of it as the barrel of a gun. It works like that. So it works very well. You don't have to learn new mechanics to move between a handgun. If you look at the way you draw a gun, right? If you look at the way you might draw your firearm, right? And the way that I work with a knife, they're very similar. There's very little difference. The way the hands move, the way that I'll cover, the way I'll work, it's all very similar. So yeah, it would be very useful to law enforcement to understand the criminal mentality, the kind of ambushes they'll deal with, how to counter those ambushes, how the guy's going to go for their weapon, and there's a lot of body mechanics that offsets the way people try and go for your gun. Last point, in Switzerland, one of the guys in their SWAT unit was asking me, how do I deal with handgun retention from there are lots of African migrants, refugees in Europe, and they've got to deal with them. And we ended up doing a day and a half of pretty much me doing handgun retention stuff, a lot of stuff staying on your feet when a guy's trying to take you down. So I had to work on a lot, and I showed them, look, this is how African people move. This is how they fight. This is how they're going to go for your gun. This is how they come into you, how they try and mug you. This is how you got to. And also remember, these guys are standing. So, okay, one small point I should make. Tripwire, one critical thing about tripwire. You are used to standing in a normal posture, rooted, normal, balanced. Okay, tripwire works from this posture, perfectly neutral posture. It's perfectly, you are standing in the most vulnerable posture you have, and tripwire works from here. Right? It effectively works from this position. And we were working, the guy mugs you, he moves, he twitches, and you've got to go counter ambush at that point. Right? There may or may not be a weapon at play, but you need to protect your gun and you need to offset this guy. So we were using a lot of body mass to offset the guy, clear him, get distance. The way that you unbalance yourself and the way that you stumble and fall, you'll find yourself rocketing backwards away from a threat so you can pull your weapon and present. So there's certain benefits there, I think, that I would hope to explore at one point in the States.
Okay, no. All right. Tell us about, okay, let's get into, because we want to pass on, but this has been fantastic. Tell us about your future goals? What's coming down the pipeline? Future goals for our
Dean is going to be an instructor.
What?
Dean will be the man. Dean is the man, and Dean will be our East Coast rep. And then, of course, Burton Richardson, who's also the man, who's the man's man, will be, I mean, the Burton Richardson. Burton and Dean have been training with me for about a year now.
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, I want to say on a scale from 1 to 10, but Dean is definitely okay. Okay. Just kidding. On a scale from 1 to 10, Dean is awesome, and he and Burton will be grading to instructor status very shortly. And I'm very honored to have spent the time with them, and they will be representing what I do and teaching in the near future. So yeah, so congratulations to both of them, and I'm really gratified to have met them. I met Dean through Burton. I met Burton in California, where I met some of you guys, Carlito and Brian, and man, it's been an honor. So yeah, so that is what is coming up. So and hopefully I will learn how to get paid, because apparently, you know, Africa, we need to get electronic sheep payments working, or electronic goats. I'm not sure how this works. So that's just, you know.
Okay. Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you the mention, and I just want to say it's a complete testament to your teachings and all that. So absolutely honored to hear this and obviously represent you in the system. It's incredible. Those of you who have an interest, I highly recommend getting a hold of Lloyd. You know what I mean? This is what I did, and I was enthralled right from the get-go, just because of the difference in the movement and all that, and wow, and all that. And I'm gonna definitely be doing that. And yeah. Oh, thank you, Jay. Yeah. Well, credit to Master Lloyd here for the interview. I mean, yeah.
Just there's certain comments in the chat, but I need to stress Nigel was the person who started developing the Piper system, but I was there for over a decade in refining it, developing it, researching it, finding and meeting with people to extract more ideas and codifying it, building up the syllabus and so on. So Eric and myself were very heavily involved. I was and am the very first student ever graded in Piper. My certificate number is 001. So I'm not 007, I am 001.
You're not 007?
No, I'm 001.
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely.
So I came before 007.
Yeah, I mean, people,
I've been doing this for about 20 years now, give or take. And I was there from the beginning. If you look at my Hall of Fame video that's on YouTube on my channel,
I'm going to post it too.
Yeah. Nigel says he's the founder and I am the finder, because Nigel founded the Piper system and I found Nigel. And I was the person that made it a worldwide phenomenon, that broadcasted it to the world, took it to the world, did the seminars abroad, and got the ball rolling. And of course, yes. So I've moved on to develop it further with the way that I see it. But that said, I mean, I grew up. This is where I come from. It's what I've seen. It's what I've lived through. Yeah.
Okay. No, 100%. Okay. Actually, that was kind of my next thing.
Chad Bailey says, DM me to train. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate the interest. And I do see your messages. Yeah, it's a little hard to track them, but yes, certainly I'll be in the chat a little bit later. I'm not much on Facebook. I find that I'm far more productive off Facebook. Honestly, I get more done in my life. But also Dean will be an administrator on the Piper page. So yeah, I will be more involved, and I do speak to Dean on a routine basis. So yeah, sorry, Dean, to interrupt you.
Oh, no. I want folks to know that I'm going to be posting on the bottom. It's a long vid, so I wanted to show it here, but I didn't want to take away from the subject matters. But I mean, for folks who are watching, I am definitely going to post his Hall of Fame vid on the bottom. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's absolutely great stuff. So besides the other future goal, your goal is obviously to get more. I mean, getting more exposure and all that. I mean, you want to bring forth to the forefront, what your offerings in the system and all that. Am I correct in that?
Sorry. Say it again. I was just reading a comment. Yeah, you're saying, sorry.
I'm saying you I mean, besides, identifying who's coming down the pipeline, but you also want to bring the system more to the forefront and bring it, and all that, and have people see what it, what it's for, what it's about, and all that.
I think it brings an entirely new dimension to the blade arts. Everyone has explored the Asian systems. Everyone has explored the Filipino systems, let's say, right? Very few have presented any kind of authentic African system, and this is an authentic African system. Okay, and I'm authentically African, just by sheer coincidence.
In case you didn't know,
I was born there. So yeah. Yeah. So in fact, I mean, historically, if I go back to 1693, one of my father's ancestors is actually a woman from Indonesia. She inherited his surname. So, but that's a long story. We won't get into that now. So, yeah. So I want people to understand this is an authentic African system. Now, of course, there are certain people in the States, of course, that say, well, it's not pure African because it's not only African. It's a hybrid of different things. Well, a lot of things are a hybrid of different things, right?
FMA.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of things are a hybrid, and it's not pure African. Well, I mean, and it is African. It was born in Africa. It was made by Africans. But I mean, yeah. If someone, Anyway, but as I said, so it is an authentic African system that has taken and adapted certain ideas, blended them, come up with something far more dangerous. And I've obviously been evolving it over the last few years, especially since 2013. I've been working on it extensively. Burton, yourself, we've I think been evolving it as well, improving the teaching curriculum extensively, especially adapting it so it makes it easier to learn. It was impossible for Westerners to learn, and I had to do heavy development to create a teaching syllabus that was understandable and applied to Westerners, to Europeans and Americans. And also I want to take it out of its gang culture. I want to take it out of its dark mindset, because there's been too much emphasis on it's a killing system, it's a gang system, and too much of the gang language, the gang culture. That I grew up under that. It's not pretty. It destroys communities. It kills people. It puts people in prison. I know from firsthand all of this stuff. It's not a good thing. It is not to be promoted. It is not to be respected, except as for the fact that it's bad and it's dangerous, needs to be dealt with, but it's not something that you admire. And I would much rather we apply this for the good of good people, for the protection of law enforcement officers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think that's fantastic, because some people that may know, they might just think of this evil criminal system, but which is the roots of it. But however, though, the benefits that we can apply it towards modern day society and helping people and shed some.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like a disinfectant, or rather, it's like a vaccine against the problem.
Yeah. This is bad. Wow. This has been absolutely fantastic. I just. Folks, if I did miss a question going down there, sometimes it's tough for me to get all the questions as comments are coming in. Please, Lloyd, would you mind if they PM'd you if there was a question?
Yeah, of course. Please go ahead. You can also post my email so people can get a hold of me via email. ldejongh@outlook.com. But yeah, certainly you can PM me via the Piper page. Dean is an admin on the page now as well, so he'll be able to see those and pass that to me. I do speak to him regularly. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, also Skype. You guys are welcome to chat with me. I'm always chatting to people. I have lots of good friends in America. It's some great people. I've really enjoyed my time. I've had great hospitality in the States. Some wonderful people. So yeah, and I'm very grateful to lots of good people in the States. I've made some good friends, and hope to see you guys again once this craziness is over and I can travel again, because I miss it. I really miss it. Connecticut.
Hopefully it's going to end soon and all that. But again, folks, thank you to those who watched, commented, and asked questions. Again, if I did miss your question, you can PM Lloyd. I will be posting the Hall of Fame video on the bottom for folks that can see that. I want to thank you that chimed in and watched, and for the comments and all that. The email chat. It's what's the email again?
Lima Delta Echo Juliet Oscar November Golf Hotel @outlook.com. Just my initial and surname. Lima Delta Echo Juliet Oscar November Golf Hotel @outlook.com. L De Jongh. And so also Brian Kanata asked Lloyd, if you have time, Can you show the viewers the difference between how we walk in the West versus Africans with no shoes and how it influences Piper? I did that, Brian, in the very beginning. I actually did a 5-minute section. I showed the walking quite extensively. Perhaps I can just briefly take a few seconds.
Right, no, go. We're good.
One difference is, so if we are perfectly balanced, right, we're kind of relying on the arm, right? But the way that we are in Piper, the weight is forward, right? Your weight is forward, so you are a little bit forward, right? And when you're forward, you have a lot of mass. And when you go forward, because you're slightly asymmetrical, what happens is when you rotate, you drop and you spiral down really hard. Okay. Now step this way and that way. So that leads to a lot of falling. You guys heard that jolt. There's a lot of jolting and falling. So you catch yourself. So instead of like walking gently, instead of walking gently with little power, right? Let me just move this. I use that for my photography projects. So what you do is jolt and fall onto things like that, which is very different to walking gently into things. We literally jolt and collapse on them, and then things stumble back. That is the difference. One major difference that comes out of the way that we walk. Hopefully that adds additional knowledge. But Brian, so just check the beginning. I do cover it. Thanks for the question.
Okay.
And good to chat to you again. Yep.
All right. So we're going to be in touch. I'm going to be in touch with you soon, hopefully, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Early next week.
Thank you, people. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. It was good to meet some old friends again. Good to chat.
I thought your demos, your explanation were excellent, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on. You know.
Oh, guys, another thing. Piper is very authentic, right? For instance, something that I've learned in the US, people offer merch and dice, right? So I go to their websites. You don't find any dice. I think that's misleading. So for my store one day, when I have a little store online, I'm going to just offer merch and no dice. I have no idea why, because why do American martial artists always offer merch and dice, Dean?
To merge and dice.
Merch and dice, yeah.
Merchandise.
They offer merch and dice for sale on their web stores. I have no idea why they offer dice. I mean, it's like, so anyway, so I'm just going to offer the merch, okay? No dice.
No dice. Are you sure?
That's a joke, okay?
Can we talk into the dice?
Yeah, I don't know why martial artists have to sell dice, and I never find dice. I just, just sell the merch.
I know, but it might be better for you to take the dice as opposed to the.
John Ristic got it. Brian got it.
I'm saying,
merchandise. The word merchandise. I was just playing with merchandise.
You might want to consider though, as opposed to taking e-sheep.
Anyway, so yeah, guys, sorry, that was some African humor. It's given old joke a home week, okay? And I've been stuck inside for months. Okay, cool, guys. Yeah, Dean, that's it for me, and I think hopefully I've given a good overview.
Oh no, it was outstanding. Thank you, and so I'll be in touch with you. I'm gonna end, but I'll put you on the bottom, okay?
Okay.
All right, folks. All right, thank you for all that watch. Tomorrow is Super Dan at 4 o'clock Eastern time. He will be coming on, and I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything as far as that goes. But yeah, we did a test run yesterday. So Super Dan, obviously those you know, was heavily into the fighting circuit, and also very big into modern knees. He's coming on tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And all that. So if you can jump in on that, and we'll be covering again Super Dan. All right, folks. Those of you who tuned in and watched, if you have not already, please hit like and subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube. You can see this interview and other great interviews like it. Again, that's FMA Discussion right on YouTube. As simple as that. And if you haven't already, hit like and tell us where you were watching from. And again, thank you all that watched and chimed in and comment and submitted questions. All right, folks. Until then, see you tomorrow.